Every year, on Christmas Eve, a faint amber light would glow in the hub window of an old house on the outskirts of Lakeside. The house stood alone on a snowy hill surrounded by pines. It had been abandoned for decades, but every December 24th, without fail, the lights would turn on. People got used to it. Old residents said it once belonged to the Howard family. A father, mother, and 2 children who died in a car crash on their way home from a Christmas fair in 1987. Since then, no one had lived there. Yet the light kept coming back. Some said it was squatters. Others whispered it was the Howards, still celebrating Christmas. Last year, a 17-year-old named Alex decided to find out the truth. He was obsessed with filming urban legends and wanted proof that it was all fake. So on December 24th, he grabbed his camera and flashlight and messaged his friend. "If I'm not back in an hour, call the cops, LOL." The snow was falling thick as he walked through the forest path. When he reached the clearing, he saw it. The house, glowing warm and golden through the storm. "Guess someone really is home," he muttered, switching on his camera. The front door wasn't locked. It creaked open, and at that exact moment, a music box began playing Silent Night. Inside, the air smelled of pine and cinnamon. The house was spotless and no dust, no cobwebs. The table was set for dinner. 2 cups of cocoa, a pie still steaming. "Hello?" Alex called out. No answer, only the ticking of an old clock on the wall. He moved toward the living room. There stood a tall Christmas tree, covered in glass ornaments and vintage postcards. One card read, "Merry Christmas, Mom. Donizruartig." On the wall were family photos, father, mother, 2 kids. Alex zoomed in and froze. Their eyes, all 4, were blank, just pale white circles. He blinked, and the photo looked normal again. The clock struck 12. Behind him, soft footsteps echoed on the wooden floor. "Hello?" The footsteps stopped. Then, closer. He turned sharply. A woman stood in the doorway, smiling. Her face was blurred, her dress faded and old-fashioned. "You're late for dinner," she said, her voice coming from all directions. Alex stumbled back. His flashlight fell. The camera thudded to the floor. When he picked it up again, she was gone. Only the Christmas tree remained. And faint children's laughter echoed around the room. A whisper followed, close to his ear. "Sit down. We've been waiting for you." The footage showed him bolting out of the house into the snow. When he looked back, the house was completely dark. No lights, no music. Just one frame on the recording. The Howard family standing by the tree, smiling at the camera. The next morning, police found Alex's camera in the snow. But Alex himself was gone. A week later, the house lit up again. This time, there were 5 people in the family photo, and the light in the window shone a little brighter. The post office in the small town of Midwood stayed open even on Christmas Eve. Martha, a 40-year-old clerk, worked the late shift, sorting the last few letters before the holidays. The clock read 10:47 p.m. The snow tapped gently against the windows. Just as she was about to lock up, she noticed an envelope. No stamp, no return address. Just neat handwriting on the front. "To Santa Claus, personal." Martha smiled. She got those every year, kids writing to Santa. But this one looked strange. The paper was yellowed and old, like it had been hidden away for decades. She opened it. Inside was a short letter, written in a child's handwriting. "Dear Santa, please bring my brother back. He went outside last Christmas and never came home. Mommy says he's far away, but I can still hear him knocking on my window at night. Please tell him to stop calling me. He says he misses me. Love, Annie. At the bottom, December 25th, 1972. Martha frowned. She checked the archives, just in case, and froze. There was another letter exactly like it, in the lost mailbox. Same name, same handwriting, same date. Both envelopes were damp, like they'd been pulled straight out of the snow. And both had the faint imprint of a small child's hand. Suddenly, knock, knock, knock. She jumped. Someone was at the window. But when she turned, nothing, just the storm swirling outside. Then on the frosted glass, she saw tiny fingerprints, pressed from the inside. "Annie," she whispered. From the corner of the room came a soft child's voice. "I brought another letter. It didn't get there." Martha slowly turned. A little girl stood by the counter. Her hair wet, coat dripping snow, eyes pale and glassy. "How did you get in here?" Martha stammered. The girl didn't answer. She just held out an envelope. "He's still waiting for a reply," she said softly. Then stepped backward and vanished. Only a small puddle remained on the floor, and a child's mitten. The next morning, the mailman found Martha asleep at her desk. In her hand was the same old letter. On the table beside her, a new envelope, written neatly across the front. "To Martha, thank you for answering." She never opened it? It was Christmas night. Snow fell so thick that the headlights barely cut through the white. Dan, a truck driver, was on his way home after a long delivery route. All he wanted was to make it in time to open presents with his son. The radio was silent. The road stretched on for miles. Then he saw someone standing by the roadside, a man in an old coat waving. Dan slowed down and opened the passenger door. "Need a ride?" The man nodded. "Thank you. Been out here a long time." They drove quietly for a while. "Where to?" Dan asked. "Home," the man said softly. "They're waiting for me." After a few miles, they passed a small country church. The man suddenly said, "Here, please stop." Dan pulled over. The stranger smiled faintly. "Thank you, Dan. You did a good thing tonight." Dan blinked. "Wait, how do you know my name?" The man just smiled wider and stepped out into the snow. Dan followed him, but there was no one there. Only footprints leading toward the cemetery beside the church. He approached the gate and his eyes caught a headstone. Michael Harper, 1947-1993, loving father. Dan stood there frozen before walking back to his truck. On the passenger seat lay a small box wrapped in red ribbon. Inside was a toy car and a note. "For your boy, so he always knows his dad will come home." Dan arrived home right at midnight. His son was asleep, but he placed the box under the tree anyway. In the morning, his son said, "Dad, I had a dream. A nice man told me you'd never miss Christmas again." And from that year on, Dan never did.